Okay, saving pepper seeds. Now, today you guys are kind of blessed because I set the camera up at my cutting board and you guys don't have to look at my ugly mug. So, alright, the first thing now when it comes to saving pepper seeds, it is, a lot of people I think have reservations about it because they're not really sure about the method of saving them, because there are really two ways to do this. You can save the pepper seeds within the pepper, drying the pepper, or cutting the pepper open and taking the seeds out and drying them. But there are a couple things you have to remember. First thing is that you have to make sure that you know your pepper. In other words, you know, if you're like with me, I grow the yellow fatales. I know when the yellow fatales are ripe, and so when you pick a pepper for seed saving, you have to make sure that the pepper is completely ripe. It's got to go through its mature stage. Now, like when you're saving like jalapenos and things like that, believe it or not, jalapenos do turn red. And I know that I've seen some people on the internet that save their jalapeno seeds from green peppers. You know, the jalapenos are green. Now, it's been my understanding for all the years I've been saving seeds is to not do that. Is to wait for the seed, the pepper to go all the way through its maturity. So I don't know what kind of luck these people are having, or maybe this is the first time that they've been saving the seed from that jalapeno. I would like to see the results from saving the seeds and then replanting them. However, like my yellow fatales, they're yellow when they're mature. And now there are also like some habaneros that I've done that are yellow when they're done. There are some orange ones, and these here, of course, are red peppers. So that's the first thing you have to remember. And then the second thing is to always let this go a little bit past its mature stage. In other words, once these have turned red, I always let them go a couple weeks on the vine so that they start to shrivel up just a little bit. I don't know if you can see how that's starting to shrivel a little. And then I pick them. Now, the purpose of this is so that we know that it's not going through a growth stage anymore. That the vine has stopped producing, or it has stopped sending nutrients and whatnot to this pepper because it knows the pepper is mature. So you want to catch it at that stage. And now when you pick these, now there are a couple of ways, like I say. You can take these and you can, you know, take a string and poke with a needle and put a whole bunch of them on the string and then hang them up and let them dry for a couple months. And I mean, that's certainly a valid way to do it. I don't do that because I mean, to me, I don't really have the space to be doing it, and I don't have the time to be stringing them up. So I always just extract the seeds. Now, the first thing that you're going to want to do is if you know your peppers. Now, if you take some of these here that are they're elongated, with these peppers here, I know that most of the seeds are congregated up here toward the stem. Now, there are some peppers that the seeds will kind of, you know, they'll kind of trail along, and they kind of hold to. If you were to cut the top off of this, you'll see like an X, and the seeds kind of hang along that little stem inside as it goes down the pepper. But I know this pepper. So if you're not sure about your pepper that you're saving the seeds from, then you're going to have to look inside. So what you do is you just cut the very end off like this, and then you'll be able to get a look inside. Now, one thing to note also is to make sure that if you're saving a hot pepper seed, to make sure you wear gloves. These happen to be a sweet pepper, even though they do look hot. These are a sweet pepper, a very sweet pepper. So yeah, that's just one thing to note, because the heat in some of those seeds, like my fatales, my yellow fatales, they're excruciatingly hot. Now, they're not as hot as a bujaloki or something like that, but they're hot enough for me. So now what you do is, if you don't know the pepper, is to cut the end off and then look inside. I don't know if you can see it, but there's one stray pepper seed that fell down from the stem up in here. So I'm not going to worry about that. Now, when I look down inside of there, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but I can see that they're all up here. So I'm going to cut this in half like this. And then you'll see no pepper, no seeds except for that one that kind of fell down in there. Okay? And if you look in there, you'll notice they're all up inside of that, on that stem. Okay? So once you know your pepper, now if you take like a lot of the bell peppers and whatnot, sometimes they can they can trail all the way down the pepper. So just cut the end off and look inside and you'll see it. Now once I know where they are, I cut up to it and then I stand it up, and then I take and I cut the flesh off. And then I start to cut this flesh off. And when I start to cut the flesh off, you'll see that it exposes these seeds just like this. Okay? And then what I want to do is, of course, I can save that for eating, and then I take these seeds, and once I've got this flesh cut away, these seeds just fall right off. Now, I have seen some people, what you can do is you can take this and then just set this on a, now what I do is I use paper plates, and the reason why I use paper plates is because I don't use paper towels, and I've seen people use paper towels. The problem with it is whenever you save seeds to a paper towel, when they start to dry, they will stick to the paper plate or to the paper towel, and that just creates a mess in itself. So now what I was saying is that I've seen people just let this stem dry, and then once it's dry, of course the seeds just fall right off. You can do that, but the problem with that I've found with this is this stem has got a lot of moisture because there's still a lot of flesh attached to it. So it takes a lot longer to dry. And I don't know if it increases the chances of molds or anything like that. So just to minimize that, I like to separate the seeds from the stem. So what I do is I just take and just separate these seeds, and you can scrape them off. And like I said before, if you're working with a really hot pepper, this is where the heat is, mostly in the seeds. With extremely hot peppers, there's a little bit of heat in the flesh, but most of the heat is in the seeds. So no matter if you're dealing with the flesh or the seeds with hot peppers, make sure that you wear gloves, and then try not to touch anything while you're working with it, especially anything important, like your eyes, or you thought I was going to say something else, didn't you? Anyways, okay, so there it is. Now what I'm going to do is I will take these and I'll scrape these onto a paper plate. Of course, I'll do a bunch of these. I've got about 15 or 20 of these peppers, and then I'll scrape them all onto a paper plate. And when I scrape them on the paper plate, I just kind of spread them out, and then I will set those somewhere warm. I will not set them somewhere where there's direct heat or direct sunlight. Keep them out of that. And then somewhere where it's between 70 and 75 degrees, like on top of a refrigerator or a warm shelf up high. And if you have a mice problem or something like that, make sure that you kind of keep an eye on that. But that's about all there is to it. It's a very simple process, and I know a lot of people are very intimidated by pepper seeds, and I think there have been a lot of failures because I think a lot of people tend to save their seeds when the peppers are not mature, and I think that's the biggest problem I think a lot of people run into. Okay, and then one final note I forgot to mention. When do you know that these are dry? Well, what you want to do is I will put these on a shelf, and I'll basically leave them there for 2 weeks. I mean, it isn't going to hurt if you leave them there a little bit longer, but what you don't want to do is put these in a bag when they're still moist, when they're not completely dry. So I will leave them on a shelf for a couple weeks, and then what I will do is I will take one and I'll push it down with my fingernail, and if it's spongy or squishy, then I know that it's not dry. If it snaps and it's brittle, then I know that it's dry, and then I know that it's ready to be bagged or put in an envelope. So I'll take a little envelope and write it on there, what the variety is, the date that I harvested it, and how many seeds are in there, and that's about all there is to it. So, all right. Well, thanks a lot for watching, guys. We'll catch y'all later. Be sure to stop over to growyourheirlooms.com, where we have podcasts, gardening Q&A, tips on year-round gardening, survival gardening, and current projects that are going on.